Don't make these 5 mistakes as a new teacher. Mistake number 1, staying in one spot. Many teachers have a comfort zone they like to stay in. Maybe it's behind the computer console, or maybe it's next to the door, but you just stand in that one place. It's better if you move around the classroom. There are 3 benefits to moving around the classroom. First, you're closing the gap in the distance between you and your students. That makes you more personable as a teacher. And when you're walking up and down the aisle, even your shyer students can raise their hand and interrupt you to ask you a question if they don't understand. There are studies who actually show that students who sit in front of the room usually get higher marks. This is because there's closer proximity with the teacher, so they interact with the teacher more. If you move around the classroom, you're giving your students that opportunity to equally interact with you as a teacher. Second, moving around the classroom will help you keep your students accountable for classroom management. As you walk up and down, you might see students who are distracted, but usually students stay more alert when their teacher is near. You can also tap on a desk if a student is sleeping or doing their own things without needing to mention their names because you're close by and can monitor what they're doing. And third, moving around helps you gauge your students' learning, so it's an informal assessment process. A lot of times, teachers are taking a break when their students are doing the exercise, but actually you get very valuable information about how your students really are doing when you walk up and down the aisle, so you see where individual students are and whether they really understand the exercise. You can also correct and give more direction if a group discussion is going off task. Hong Kong class sizes aren't small, so it's really important for you to be able to walk up and down and see where your students really are at. Here's a tip. Buy a clicker and a portable microphone. These items will free your hands so that you can move around and don't need to stand behind your computer. Mistake number 2, relying only on your 2 best students. A lot of times we do this unconsciously as teachers. We call on students over and over again because we know they already have the answer and class can move on. However, that means we're missing a lot of information over students who are shy or are struggling. We also sometimes will have volunteers answer only. But when we do that, we don't know if the rest of the class really understands, or it's only your top 2 students answering you. Instead, call on other students to answer too. You want to make sure you're checking on your quieter students besides your active volunteers. One helpful thing you can do is use a seating chart. A seating chart lets you call on students' names when you see that they're very quiet. Some teachers like to mark down every time a student answers, so you know who has not been interacting in class yet. A seating chart also lets you glance down and call on a student's name easily. Mistake number 3, checking for understanding, but not really. As a teacher, we always want to know if our students are really understanding us and it's not just going over their heads. However, how do you do it? Maybe you ask your class, do you understand? Or, is this okay? All right, everyone? However, this does not work really well in Asian cultures because our students are shy. They often don't want to stand out and say, I actually don't understand you. So everyone just says yes, nod their heads, or look at you quietly. It's better to check for understanding by asking concept-checking questions. Say, for example, you want to check if they really understood the instructions to an activity. You can ask them a yes-no question. So, should you start writing when you get the paper? Yes or no? Or you can ask an either-or question. Should you start writing when you get the paper? Or should you wait for the teacher to say go? You can also ask a WH question. What is the first thing you should do after you receive the paper? If an activity is harder, you can do a demonstration. Have a few of your students with higher level English come out and demonstrate how to do the activity. That way, even students whose English level isn't as high can follow by understanding the action. Mistake number 4, overconfident but underprepared.
Ready for the first day of school?
Yes, I've got everything. I have my outfit, I have a USB with my PowerPoint, my lesson plan. I even have extra activities just in case we have extra time.
I think you're missing something.
Really? A lot of teachers think we're fully prepared after our lesson plan's set out and we have extra activities. However, have you visualized how you will walk into the room, where you will stand, what you will say? Have you thought about the questions you will ask your students to see if they really understand? Have you thought about how to simplify what you say for ESL students so that the activity instructions are very clear and organized? And have you thought about what to say to redirect your students when they're off task? All this is part of preparation. Teaching class is a lot like public speaking or going for a job interview. The more you prepare and rehearse and visualize beforehand, the smoother your class will go. Establishing procedures is very important to running a class smoothly. I've attached a worksheet below to help you think through what procedures you want to establish in your class so that it can go better. Mistake number 5, time wasters. Good morning, class. It's time for roll call. Okay. Amber? Hi, Amber. You look nice today. Bob? Good morning, Bob. Carlos? Nice haircut, Carlos. This might look like a good idea as you're building personal connection with your students. But imagine Hong Kong classes have an average of 30 students. If you do that with every student, how much class time is this going to take? A better idea might be using a seating chart. You can just glance down and see who's not here. Remember that our goal in class is to maximize the time that everyone is learning. For example, if you're doing a classroom activity, instead of having students interact with you one-on-one to practice speaking, you can first have them turn to each other in pairs or groups for discussion, and then ask 1 or 2 students for their answers and feedback. This also applies to checking answers. Instead of having students come up to the board one by one and write down their answers, you can have the whole class raise their hands if they got the answer right to each question, so you know which questions you need to stop to explain more and which you can skip ahead. Another method I learned from my friend that's very helpful is saying this is A, B, and C. Whoever thinks the answer is A, raise 1 finger, B, raise 2. That way, no one is shy and afraid to make a mistake because only you can see their answers. But at the same time, it gives you the information that you need to know which question a lot of students got wrong and you need to stop to explain. Of course, sometimes the Blackboard method is still good, but maybe not all the time. So, there you have it. 5 things not to do in the classroom. Try these instead to see your class instantly improve. For more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Have a great class. Bye!